BooTube. Hi BooTube. I can't really be that loud because if you've seen previous videos, I do not live alone. I do in fact share a wall right there. And it is currently 1:03 in the morning. I know it's late. I have been missing 3 particular episodes, 2 of them from Supergirl and 1 of them from Arrow. I'm the one Supergirl episode and the Arrow episode. I missed those because they premiered the week of Valentine's Day, and I was currently, doing stuff to the point where I couldn't really get those shows, fast enough. And the second Supergirl episode I missed only because I was trying to get the previous Supergirl episode I missed and the Arrow episode, which I ended up missing all 3 of them in the instance. So, this will be my reaction rant to Arrow Season 5, Episode 13, which is titled Spectre of the Gun. I actually did record this episode, but for some godforsaken reason, I finished recording, I hit the stop button, I checked through my files, it didn't record. And so I was so pissed off. So yes, this is Arrow Season 5, Episode 13, titled Spectre of the Gun. This premiered the day after Valentine's Day, which was February 15. That Valentine week, out of all the CW DC shows of Valentine's week, the only ones that premiered were Supergirl Season 2, Episode 12, which was titled Luthor's, and Arrow Season 5, Episode 13, which is Spectre of the Gun. The only reason why Supergirl and Arrow premiered on Valentine week is because Tuesday was Valentine's Day, and Flash and Legends are on Tuesdays. So they're not going to premiere it on Valentine's Day. People are going to go out and be with their loves, whether it's their honey boos or with their fam bams and all that good stuff. But anyway, yeah, let's get this started because I really, really enjoyed this episode. I really did. 2 minutes already? Damn, I need to stop babbling. Anyway. First off, I need to give a shout out to who I believe was the director of this episode, Mark Guggenheim. Because this particular episode tackled a very, very difficult topic that a lot of people in the real world talk about, and it's just a very difficult topic because whatever side you're on, you're going to end up pretty much pissing off the other side, right? And so this episode strictly was covering the topic of guns and gun control, and everyone who knows me knows I'm not much of a political person. I do not want to get into politics, and look at my gloves, look at that. Anyway, I don't really get into politics that much, because let's just face it, whether you're into politics or not, no matter what, it will give you a headache. Whether you're actually in politics or not, you will have a migraine. And that's why I tend to keep away from them. And another thing I liked about this episode, not only because it pretty much tackled this difficult topic beautifully, it gave us a flashback of someone I wanted a flashback of, besides Oliver. Not that I'm hating on Oliver's flashbacks, but it's good to see a flashback of somebody else, especially when you want to know the background story of this character. Now, in previous videos, I have stated that I was actually curious about Renee, aka Wild Dog's background, only because in the previous episodes, Renee seemingly had bonded with Diggle. If you guys remember in the beginning, Diggle, there were moments where Diggle was basically a fugitive because he was broken out of jail, I think, by Oliver as the Green Arrow. And because he was a fugitive, he couldn't go home and see his wife and son. And Renee bonded with him with that. And it got me thinking that, is it possible that the reason why Renee is bonding with Diggle over the fact that Diggle can't see his son is because Renee is in a similar situation? Does Renee actually have a kid and he can't, for some reason, can't see this kid? Does he actually have a family that he can't see? And we end up getting answers in this episode. But so before I go into the flashback of Renee's past, let's get into present day with this episode. Renee ends up working as an assistant for Quentin. And Renee, Quentin, Oliver, that one deputy district attorney dude, they're all there in City Hall when an armed man, basically hiding something in a huge bag, ends up shooting up in the entire City Hall, or at least the floor that he was on. And he ends up wounding several staff members, but at the same time, not only did he wound some of the staff members, he ended up killing some of them, right? And Felicity ends up finding out who the shooter was. She identified the shooter as a guy named James Edlund, or something like that, James Edlund. And apparently he's like a former clerk and a gun control proponent or something. I can't even pronounce that word, but he's very rah about gun control, mainly because apparently James Edlund lost his family in a shootout months ago. And he thinks that his family didn't really get justice for it. That's why he's doing what he's doing. And I don't blame him, because quite honestly, I think a lot of us will agree, like, if you're in that situation and you lose a family due to a shootout and you're basically the last one standing in your family. Can you imagine that? Like, you lose your entire family in a shootout and you're the sole survivor and you have to live with that, in a way, survivor's guilt, because he's literally the last of his family because they're all dead because of a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised if James Edlund had like survivor's guilt, and that pretty much drove him to do this, because some people who end up having like survivor's guilt, they deal with it differently, and unfortunately one of the situations is people pretty much taking it out on the world, you know? Unfortunately, like, some people shut down, you know, some people do move on with their lives slowly but surely. Some of them amazingly go on with their lives fast. Some of them just break down completely. And some people, unfortunately, with their survivor's guilt, end up taking it out on everyone else and harming people because for them, they have nothing left to lose. And that's probably what James Edlund was doing, you know what I mean? He has nothing left to lose with his survivor guilt, and that probably prompted him to attack City Hall. Anyway, Thea and Quentin encourage Oliver to deal with the situation not as the vigilante Green Arrow, but as Mayor Oliver Queen, right? Because, you know, he has to save face. You know, he's the mayor. He has to do something about this whole thing as mayor, not just as Green Arrow all the time, you know what I mean? And shout out to Thea. Shout out to the actress who plays Thea, Willa Holland. Welcome back. We've missed you. Anyway, Oliver decides to work with a city council lady. I forgot what her name was, but he invites her to City Hall for a possible gun control act. And he literally tells her, you know, you and I are going to be sitting in my office, and we're not going to be leaving here until we come up with some sort of plan that will benefit both parties, whether it's people who sell the guns or people who, you know, what was it, like, some people who want people who have guns to, you know, be registered or not have guns at all. And there's the other side where people who sell those guns, it's their jobs, you know, and they're trying to balance that out, trying to have a gun control act that will satisfy both parties. Like I said, this is an actual issue today because, quite frankly, we had enough unfortunate shootings all around. And, like, whether it's, unfortunately, in clubs, the streets, even in schools, which breaks my heart even more. And like, that, not gonna lie, that actually kind of happened in my high school. Like, in my high school, we actually did have a lockdown. I don't know what year I was in. I want to say it was my sophomore year of high school, and, we actually had a lockdown. It was toward the end of the day, too. It was almost at the end of the day. I think we were in our, like, either the last period class or the second to last, and we literally had a lockdown because apparently a guy was spotted near the campus with a gun. And I was actually frightened because I've never been in that situation before, obviously, and of course, a lot of people, I'm not sure about, I can't say for my classmates, but I'm pretty sure a good chunk of them have never been through that before in their lives either. And we literally had to lock our doors. Any door entrances we had in our classrooms, we had to lock them, which was kind of hard because our school in particular, there were some classrooms like the science labs. For example, the science labs in my school, they had multiple doors, not just the main front doors that the students walk in. There were multiple doors to get inside the science lab. So there were multiple ways that shooter guy could have went easily inside our school through the science lab already. So that was already a scary thing. And I think our classroom was not that far away from the science wing, so that made it even creepier. But like any and all entrances to our classrooms had to be locked. All the windows had to be like shut and covered, and we all had to get away from the windows, as far away from the windows and doors as possible. Like we all had to huddle in the wall in a corner as far away from the windows and doors as possible. And luckily for us, in our classroom, our door and windows were all on the same side of the classroom. Literally, if you were standing in the back of our classrooms, the door is on the right side, and so were the windows. There was like no windows on the left or anywhere else. So luckily, for us, it was easy to go to the other side of the room, right? So it was a scary thing, you know? But of course, my class was completely stupid because the first thing our teacher told us, besides, getting away from the door and windows and to huddle up and stuff like that and not make a sound, was do not use your phones. More than 90% of my class were using their phones. They all took out their phones. I was like, are you for real? There is a shooter outside our freaking school who could easily go on our campus and shoot us up, and you are using your phones when the teacher just said not to. Why? But anyway, luckily the cops were able to apprehend the dude and everything, and we were obviously no longer locked down, but it was a scary thing. So thinking of seeing this episode kind of made me flash back to that, and made me flash back to how scared I was. Because it was a normal day, with the exception of, I think we were celebrating my classmate's birthday, and she brought, like, treats for everyone, right? And the teacher, being nice, decided, let's watch a school-appropriate movie while celebrating this classmate's birthday. And we were just eating those cupcakes, watching a movie, and then lockdown, So hearing about this whole gun control act kind of reminded me of that, you know what I mean? I was scared. I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to speak on behalf of all my class, 2009, but I'm pretty sure a good chunk of us were scared. And so seeing all the shootings that are happening today, especially in schools, kind of reminded me of that. This episode reminded me of all the shootings we're getting around here, particularly in clubs and schools. And then thinking about the school shootings reminded me of our own lockdown, so kind of semi-hit home for me a little bit. But anyway, back to the episode. I'm sorry about that, guys. Anyway, Renee and Curtis locate Edlin's hideout, and they find this floor plan, and they find out from the floor plan what his next target was, which happened to be a hospital, which was like, oh my god, that's pretty much just as worse as a school, not gonna lie. And they tell Oliver about it during his meeting, and unfortunately he has to tell that city council lady that, you know what, I have to go real quick. And instead of going to confronting Edlin as Green Arrow, he confronted Edlin as Oliver Queen the Mayor, which I thought was pretty freaking cool of him to do. And I just realized I am running out of time. I will see you in a part 2 video. I know I ranted a lot in the beginning, and I ranted a lot just a few seconds ago because of my past. So I'll see you guys in the next video, okay?